The Dubai Diamond Conference 2015 was a major success, and that for several reasons. We had, of course, the presence of all these African diamond producing countries, from the large mining companies, De Beers, Alrosa, Indiama, Ambada. The former EU President, Herman Van Rompuy, was our honored guest and did the opening speech. But apart from that, we decided to change the format of the conference. And instead of going with speeches and contributions and PowerPoint presentations, we wanted an interactive model, a model with panels. And we had 5 panels. A panel on ethics, on synthetics, on Africa First, on diamond finance and liquidity in the business. We hope you enjoy it.
The challenges are big because there is a huge competition in the market, unfair competition in the market. As far as I am concerned, my clients are saying they make more profit when there is less diamonds than more diamonds. What is missing is the pipeline of the diamond industry for the retail, the first pipeline of the diamond industry. I don't see any help whatsoever. Sorry I speak about the big boys of Alrosa, which is here in front of us, and of course, the almighty God of De Beers. So we don't understand what you are going to do in the future, really. I made beautiful speeches, but I truly, I'm not an expert on that, but one thing is for sure, you are missing. And the site holders, my good friend Dilip here, which we worked together with the Cento Diamonds, we did get some help at the beginning, 2004. So I'm saying that the pipeline of the diamond industry for the retail is missing.
Talking about today, things are all right. There are challenges. But the point is that what about 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? That's where we feel that with other categories, innovating, and that's what we don't do. We don't innovate. We just do the same thing every day. We firefight, and we just try to get out of the current situation, not thinking what's going to happen.
So what can we do? What can we do, Vishal?
When you look at the Apples and the Teslas of the world, the experience that these guys offer is something that consumers haven't been able to experience yet. And I think that is something that we as an industry really need to focus a lot on. And I think this is going to go down a long way when it comes to adoption of technology. Now again, we can all talk about investment, but where is this investment going to come from? And I think that's going to be a very hot debate, certainly if we talk about who has that responsibility.
I think we as a company are very, very clear that we are in a desire business. And there is no doubt about it. What we operate is to understand, is this desire is a pressing need of a customer?
So if you look at most product categories around the world, the penetration of branding is extremely deep, north of 90% in most categories, whether you take eyewear, watches, clothing apparel, leather goods, etc. When you look at our category, we are at a low double-digit percentage.
There needs to be an omnipresence experience with the retailers. A customer can look at a product on Instagram, go to a store, experience the product, go back home and order it online. That's what's important. It's no longer an omni-channel operation.
Yeah, omni-channel
it has to
really,
be totally across the board. So wherever a customer moves around, they should be able to experience the product.
Is it sufficient what retailers are doing now? Because there's this whole new generation, 15-year-old coming. Guys of 15-year-old, they buy everything already on their phone. Will that impact retail? Will that impact your business?
We like it or not, digital media is going to be one of our biggest competitors. E-commerce, unfortunately, was born because a lot of unsold items were in the market, and they helped to get rid of the whole stock of all the retailers or manufacturers of the world. So they started discounting, and the discount is a big, big issue. And unless we innovate, truly innovate the retail industry, we have a problem. But innovation and marketing must go together.
Do consumers come to your stores and say, do you have conflict-free diamonds? Does that happen often?
I think
Does it happen every day?
No, I think that's a very, very old subject, at least 6-7 years ago when this subject raised up. And
Does it ever happen?
No.
Karim, does it ever
Never.
happen?
Not at all. I've never experienced that.
Never.
You never experienced
I
it
never
in your
experienced.
150 stores?
Yes, never experienced or got any feedback saying that the customer was asking about this. They might just ask, is it being responsibly sourced? But they wouldn't tag directly saying that is it a conflict-free diamond that you're using.
Do you get questions, for example, about the wages that are paid for diamonds that are digged wherever? Do you get these questions?
No.
Child labor? Do you
in the
get
States-
questions on child labor?
In the States, yes. You know, the rest of the world, no. In the States, yes. The rest of the world, no.
I think in this part of the world, we overestimate the amount of information a customer has. They don't have this information.
So he's basically interested in the price
He's interested in the product,
and the quality.
yes. And if we can create the right experience around it, that's the sale done.
Yeah.
Do we have enough rules? Do we know how to be ethical? Yes, we do. Does everyone in the diamond industry adheres to the rules? As I said yesterday in my speech, I think the majority does. Our problem is that not everybody does, and that they are ruining and tarnishing the image of a good industry by a few companies, people who do not follow the rules.
One cannot run away from the fact that there have been problems of perception with regards to the way the diamond industry operated, the unfortunate debate we had in the 2000 about conflict diamond, but the truth is that we've moved beyond that. When it comes to whistleblowing and pointing fingers and finding fault where there is, oftentimes I think we're very good at that.
If today we go to Google, which we actually do every 5 minutes, and we put in the word diamonds, we basically are confronted, I think, with 85% of negative news.
The picture is fantastically black, but I think that is something to do with the nature of activism, NGOs, and indeed the internet and generally news in general. You know, good news, positive news doesn't sell, it doesn't grab people's interest.
On the net, there's this bulk of bad press on diamonds. And if I may, I relate it to about 40 reports which your organizations, the NGOs, have written over the past 14 years on the business in Africa.
It's going in the right direction, but you've got to remember, these are generational changes. These things will not happen overnight. The fact that there are a substantial number of industry initiatives looking at artisanal miners, looking at ethical jewellery, the platform's there.
We are trying very hard. I think we are doing enough, but it also comes to the ethics if the diamond people will follow the rules, if they are compliant and transparent.
You are the branding experts of the world. You should be branding yourself a hell of a lot better. And it's easy to do.
There is a scandal a year of one kind or another. Not necessarily conflict diamonds, not necessarily terrorist financing, but banking issues, offshore bank accounts, the big HSBC investigation, the synthetic scandal of a couple of years ago when undisclosed synthetics were on the market. So there's a constant flow of negative issues, quite big ones, which are generated by industry practice. It's not simply a matter of newspaper perception and reporting bad news, although newspapers do report bad news on the whole. There are also issues within the industry and how it operates.
The communities as well are raising questions around ethics in terms of conflicts, in terms of human rights violations, in terms of the labor standards at the mine, in terms of issues to do with relocation of communities, in terms of pollution of rivers or the environment. Those are critical issues that the diamond industry, in terms of ethics, has to critically look at. In terms of conflict diamonds, Central African Republic, Venezuela. I think what we have to take note of is the changing nature of conflict.
This is the need to engage. It's not good enough to just criticize. You must always leave channels for communication and engagement. We must be willing to give credit where it's due and to embrace the industry and try and work together much more positively going forward.
Basically, what you say is, I expect from civil society, from NGOs, to do more than just criticize, to shoot from the hip, but to engage in a more active way, solution forward.
There's need for the three arms to try and collaborate where possible and share common views and common messages around improving the diamond sector. So for me, it is important as well to collaborate where possible, but the independence of civil society should be maintained.
Allow me. Is this issue a little bit overdone? Is it a bit overestimated, Ernie? What do you think?
Yes, in fact, the figures are very interesting, not in as much as how problematical it is, but how minuscule, as you said, is the situation in terms of synthetic stones. We had a conference a few weeks ago, and I think the percentage of synthetics in relation to natural diamonds is, I think, 0.2% or something to that. It's really not a problem.
But production-wise, there seems to be an understanding that for smaller sizes, the cost is much too high to increase the production fundamentally. So we are more or less on the safe side.
There is no known production of 5 pointers full cut and 7 points in man-made. There is no known production.
As long as you buy a certified diamond, there's no risk.
Correct.
In the total world today, we assess that around 200 to 220 machines are there which are producing this diamond. They have an exact output level which cannot be ramped up. They require huge electricity. The electricity costs are high. So it is an assessment that till now the manufacturing cost and the selling cost is not that profitable.
If today the number, the quantity, its presence on the market is not an issue because it is insignificant, be aware that the technology today is evolving faster than we imagine, and it in no time will increase. And that is an easy prediction to make.
The non-disclosure in terms of what our belief system is going to be the biggest problem we're facing and the biggest danger we're facing, where unscrupulous dealers will pass off synthetic diamonds as natural.
In the end, it will be the consumer who will decide what diamond he or she buys. I think the issue is the fraudulent behavior. If you mix it undisclosed, it's fraud. That's the issue for the industry.
Yeah.
If it is declared, then there is no issue, and it is minuscule. Yesterday, there were 2 mining companies showing that after 2020, the production of rough diamonds is going this way, and the demand of polished is going up. There is a gap. The gap can be filled, and the gap will be filled by price increasing and man-made diamonds.
That there may be a market for synthetic diamonds because they become a separated product.
We as the World Federation of Diamond Bourses have no problem with synthetics. We believe they have a niche in the market, we believe they do have a place in the market, and that place will continue to grow.
A diamond is forever, and here comes the trick. A man-made diamond is equally as forever. It is diamond.
Speaking on behalf of my country, we have been beneficiating, and it has been a success.
Is beneficiation something we always have to weigh in employment terms?
Value addition is very important, beneficiation is very important. I think most governments now have accepted that this is the way to go, but we must go beyond just beneficiation. It's all the way to the market. And if we can engage the market, the retailers, in the whole process, I think it's a win-win situation.
Legislation needs to be in place. The government must set the policy direction, but much more than that, I think we need a much more positive sort of engagement between government as regulators and people who are invested in the sector as industry players. I don't think the example of regulators who simply want to legislate beneficiation into existence by proclaiming it would work. I think that's likely to sour the atmosphere, and I don't think this is in the interest of industry or government or communities. We dig materials out of the ground, we send it to distant part of the world to be manufactured into high-value goods. We don't capture enough of the values being created for that. I think that's not a good thing.
The frustration that a lot of us in Africa see is actually just being left out, completely being left out of the industry. And it's, if we can build partnerships, I think that is the way to go. Yeah?
What is missing exactly? And what can be done to mend what is possibly missing? Because I think the African people have the right to understand loud and clear what is missing.
Skills, it was a big issue. We've opened our gates to bring in the skills, the teachers, the people who can come and train, and they've come in, they've trained our people, and they've been pleasantly, as I say, surprised with the speed at which the people were able to take on the polishing of diamonds.
You cannot go from zero to everything. It has to be one step at a time. In terms of where we want to go, I think we need a hard conversation about, how do we want to do it concretely.
There's a whole lot of things that needs to be re-corrected in order to make sure that the agreements that we have are good for the country as well as good for the investor.
The industry has to be established, and then you can talk about the skills. We can't talk about the absence in skills when there is nothing existing that those skills must be used to.
Botswana survived. They've proven us wrong.
Most of the countries don't have real understanding of their potential. And because of that, sometimes investors are not sure of coming to those countries because there have not been sufficient studies to make sure which kind of the potential those countries have. We are working on defining specific potentials that we have, including in the diamond sector, so that investors could easily come and work with the DRC.
A balance sheet is a reflection of the figures at a certain moment. It's only a picture. The behavior on the account is very important, and I think it's a good message to the local banks over here to build up a network over time when they are really entering the diamond industry.
You have, of course, benefits of having that international network. Now, does that mean that you cannot enter this diamond industry financing it without that international network? No, I don't think so.
If you don't understand the clients, you're not in a position to lend to them. We meet the clients, as Devi said, in Mumbai. We see their operations in Surat. My team has already gone and done that. And that, I think, is the key to keeping the quality of your exposure top flight. Do we have a challenge if we don't have a network? I don't think so.
I strongly welcome the addition of the local banks in Dubai coming into it. I think that's very good for the banks. It's also very good for the industry, and it's also very good for Dubai's broader ambitions of taking a more positive and a bigger role in the global diamond industry.
For us, it's very important that we understand the way you trade, how you do business, and then we will structure the lines. We do financing at the various stages that the clients are involved in.
Since local banks are new here, put some hard collateral on the ground, use that as a leverage, because we've seen a lot of personal guarantees, but in the absence of hard collateral, for larger companies where there are not too many assets on the ground, then the personal guarantees themselves will become a point of question and debate within the banks.
Invoice discounting, and also purchase financing. We look at the business model of the client, and then we tailor-make facilities to match his business. Now, what we have decided initially on the purchase side, also because the bank is new in the industry, is that we will not finance purchases from non-mines. So we will only finance purchases from mines.
We've gone with the structures largely, which means that if we find post-sale discounting risk to be a bit high, we have had customers who have come to us and said, look, we're willing to provide you an insurance cover, which makes it palatable for you, which is good. When it comes to pre-shipment, we have had customers who have said, look, we can give you collateral and please help us leverage. And they kind of tick all the boxes in terms of being transparent, giving us the track record and giving us the good market checks.
Most bankers, they want to ensure end user funds. And when you are financing a non-site holder, there's always that concern.
As long as it is a good company which offers the degree of transparency, the degree of comfort which the bank is looking for, then there will be opportunities to partner.
It's refreshing to see that whole concept validated with the three new banks who all have said unanimously that transparency has not been the issue. What is an issue, and that also is encouraging, it's not an issue, but it's part of a learning curve, is the overall complexity of the business. And the complexity of the business is further compounded by the fact that it's a very international business.
I do believe that there is a fair amount of effort which is required by the banks to really understand the promoters and the business behind it.
The Diamantaires here have their 4 C's. Similarly, as bankers, we have our own 4 C's. You know, character, capital, capacity, commitment, capabilities, whatever. The most important one is character. You can have your IFRS statements, you can have everything. But if you don't have the character, it's not worth doing business, you know.